we will not be able to do that in this case. And so a lot of it will be what we can gather through interviews and ultimately what the evidence will point us toward. But we may never find out the exact reasoning behind the activity that took place.
Investigators are still continuing to search for why 63-year-old Anthony Quinn Warner bombed downtown. They believe he set off from his parked RV. Tips helping investigators quickly match DNA found at the blast site to a glove and a hat found in a vehicle owned by Warner. Authorities now turning to the complicated task of piecing together his motive behind the explosion, which they say could take weeks. Joining us now is former ATF Special Agent in Charge and MSNBC law enforcement analyst Jim Kavanaugh. He also lives in Nashville. Jim, I want to say it's great to speak to you. I've read some of your work, your great writing in Hate Watch. You are a living sort of version of Raylan Givens from Justified, so I'm very excited to have you on the show today, even if it's under these sad circumstances. I have to know, what is the process to figuring out what someone's motivation could be for this action? Because usually we're dependent on Facebook or a manifesto. Do we have anything like that, or do they think there might be anything like that from Mr. Warner?
Well, I think they will find something like that, Jason. And also, I'm a fan of your commentary, by the way. I love to listen to all your commentary on MS.
Thank you.
I think they will find the reason, and up to maybe 90%. It's certainly going to be probably blurred somewhat in this guy's mind. And your question is spot on. Look, how do you determine the motive when the person is deceased? Well, first you look at the actions. You look at the crime itself, the manufacture of the bomb, a lot of time, purpose, intent, money spent, effort put in, giving away his possessions, his real estate. This is really a lot of planning for this guy. He's not going to let us go completely in the dark without knowing what happened. And where does he go with his bomb? He can go anywhere in his vehicle, anywhere in the city, anywhere in the county, but he drives to this one place next to the AT&T building. And in the last video released today by Nashville police, you can see where he parked it right on the curbside in front of the AT&T, used to be Bell South building, where his father used to work. So there's some motive in here, Jason, I think, that will surround his personal issues and maybe his conspiratorial mind. And it may not be satisfying completely to us, but I think he will have sent a letter to someone or left someone for authorities to come. Look, he's going to know he's going to be blown up and that agents are going to his house, and he's going to know. So he could have very well left something there that said, hey, you know, I'm mad at the phone company, or somebody done me wrong. You know, he's choking on an empty grudge. And he'll give some kind of reason. Some of it may be convoluted, and it's not going to be very satisfying, but it's going to be the reason.
So, Jim, speaking of satisfaction, there's a lot of people in this country, especially African Americans and many Muslim Americans, who are like, look, if this was a 63-year-old Muslim American, we would immediately be calling this terrorism. We'd really be attacking sort of Black Lives Matter. I can understand how this can be called a suicide bombing, because obviously he died in the bomb that he created. What is the reason for not calling this terrorism? And is there a racial component to that? And when might we get that actual description of his actions?
Well, I think they're totally justified in those feelings, because those communities are always under attack. You know, anytime some terrorist does something, you know, everybody's pointing a finger at a Muslim, you know, oh my God, or, you know, some minority group did something, they're pointing their fingers at them. So that's a justifiable reason for them to feel that way. But law enforcement has to act to not make them feel that way, to be reasonable, and to call things terrorism that are terrorism under the law. I mean, this is terrifying. To have a bomb go off. And I've worked many criminal bombings, and a lot of them hate bombings and wanting to kill people and destroy people, but they didn't fit the legal definition of terrorism, which is, you know, to influence the civilian population or the conduct of government, to try to affect the government or put fear in a civilian population for some political purpose. If this guy's motivation, Jason, is, hey, I'm angry at this company because they done me wrong, or they did my dad wrong, and plus I think they send microwaves, or they send microwaves out, it would be more in line with a criminal bombing. And you would not be able to technically prosecute it under a federal terrorism statute. And let's face it, this guy's deader than Julius Caesar, and he wants to be remembered, but he will be quickly forgotten, except for people like us that are in the business. And who we're going to remember is those 6 brave cops and all those citizens down there who are going to get tough and stand up and get their businesses back. So we'll forget about this guy. In Nashville, we remember people with talent. We're not going to remember this guy.
That's good to know. And I've seen and tweeted with the hashtag Nashville Strong. I want to move this a bit out of the state into what we've seen in Oregon, what we've seen in Kenosha, what we've seen in Minneapolis, what we've seen with the Proud Boys in Washington, D.C. There is a rise in domestic terrorism, usually driven by white nationalist or white supremacist ideology, and that is going to be a major national security issue for this incoming administration. From your perspective, what does the incoming Biden and Harris administration, what do they need to do to start addressing these issues? Because it's common sense to believe that these groups are only going to be more aggressive once Donald Trump is finally out of office.
Right. Well, they get so much energy from political leaders who, stand up their lies and take their truck, and like Trump has done. He's put out this lie on the election that it's fraudulent. That's a complete fabricated lie conspiracy theory coming from complete fabricated conspiracy theorists. And the Washington Post has done some great stories in the last couple of weeks uncovering the sources for Trump's attorney, Sidney Powell. Who those sources are? Well, they're complete loons. And they're putting this out. And that disinformation campaign gives these groups like the Proud Boys and their ilk, which spews back to neo-Nazis and militiamen, strength and power. Oh, we're working with the president. We're working for the president. And, of course, the congressmen, that support it, that are apologists for it. Oh, well, it could be, maybe so. They're trying to be the biggest tinfoil hat wearer on Capitol Hill. Used to be those people would be laughed out like Joe McCarthy. Now we have all these people want to be Joe McCarthy, or even worse, that they're giving this disinformation, the lies, the falsehoods, traction. It's shameful to do. It's going to be hurtful to democracy. And we need truth. We need facts. It's okay to have policies on any side of the political aisle. As you know, you're a political expert, and I'm not. But those policies don't bother me if someone's conservative or liberal. It doesn't matter. Those all can make the country better. But when you're crazy and you're a loon and you're spouting out lunacy, nobody should give that truck. And that's what gives these groups power.
Right.
So the Biden administration has to take that disinformation campaign on strongly inside the government. And
shut it down. Yeah. Jim, thank you so very much for this, because we can't speak about these issues enough. The next hour, Deadline White House continues with Jonathan Capehart right after this quick break.